Dr. H. Wainhouse is the Distinguished Research Professor of Theology, Law, Culture, and Archaeology at Faith International University and Seminary in Tacoma, Washington. He and his wife, Irina, have taught and directed many tours in the Mediterranean and Middle East, including Israel, Greece, Egypt, Jordan, Italy, and Turkey, particularly with the Biblical Archaeological Society. Dr. House has taught biblical and theological studies at several universities and seminaries during a teaching career of over 50 years and has written 150 articles and 50 books, including the Evangelical Dictionary of World Religions, The Jesus Who Never Lived, Exposing False Christs and Finding the Real Jesus, the Zondervan Handbook of Biblical Archaeology, Israel, the Land and the People, an Evangelical Affirmation of God's Promises, and editor of the Nelson NKJV Study Bible and Nelson New Illustrated Bible Commentary. Dr. House is the general editor of the Evangelical Exegetical Commentary Series, 44 volumes, with logos, Faith Life. It is the knowledge amassed from these experiences, along with the assistance of biblical scholars at a variety of universities and seminaries throughout the world, that provides the information contained in his latest project, the House Visual Study Bible Online. Thank you for joining Archaeology and the Lands of the Bible with Dr. H. Wainhouse.
And welcome to the whole crew, actually.
Yeah.
But particularly to Dr. H. Wainhouse, who's going to be leading us on our What is Archaeology and Why Should We Care introductory session number 1. Dr. House, why should we care about archaeology?
Can you see me now?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you working for Verizon? Can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
Well,
All of those.
Well, it's exciting to be here with you. I really appreciate you doing this, Don, and it's good to see other people that I saw at the conference, EMR in Chicago. That was wonderful. The only thing I didn't like is that my plane wouldn't take off for about 10 hours. But other than that, everything was fine. Archaeology is good. You know, you mentioned something about something rocky a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, in fact, what a lot of archaeology has to deal with. It deals with the earth and the rocks and those kind of hard things you can find in the ground. There's a lot of other things that archaeologists are involved in, but it's a study of the age long questions and regarding civilizations. Did they live or not live? I mean, some of the places like the land of Haiti, which is the Hittite place in what we call modern day Turkey, you know, that was viewed as not really having existed, even though the Bible had 48 references to the Hittites. Scholars said that the Hittites didn't exist. And all of a sudden, we found a major kingdom with thousands of documents and other things. And that changes the whole complexion of talking about the Bible and history. So archaeology is essential. It deals with the knowledge of languages. You have to know languages. You have to know some things about scientific research. It's a way we can I don't need archaeology to believe what the Bible says, but I do believe that archaeology can help me understand why it has certain things in there. You know, in other words, you read about certain individuals in the Bible and they did certain things, and you're saying, well, why did they use that practice? Did other people do the same thing? And so archaeology opens up understanding of history and culture and locations of sites and everything else that helps to elucidate the Bible, not prove that it's correct.
Well, okay, and here's one. We just did this on Friday in my presentation. They found the Nuzi tablets, Nuzi stones, because you have this question of why did the father, Laban, chased down his daughter because of the household idols. Well, as it turns out, that was kind of like the last will and testament. Whoever possesses that tablet is the inheritor when the father dies. So he was pretty upset because she took the will, last will and testament.
If you will.
So it didn't have anything to do with the idols, really. It had to do with who possessed them
Possession.
would
Yeah.
possess everything.
Well, it's a little different than our system today, but it has some similarities.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you actually had a will made out and you couldn't find it, then they're going to have the state to step in and try to somehow develop some kind of a validity between the individuals and their complaints.
Right.
Right.
Same kind of things. Although sometimes even possessing idols was important in some civilizations. That's not what we think of in the Jewish community, at least those who were faithful to God.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, many of the things you possessed would prove to be of extreme value, and also demonstrate your right to own the property that the father had. I mean, there's a lot of that. So our system's a little more sophisticated, but it's some of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to bring up your little presentation here, little.
Woohoo.
Well, it's littler than it was because I just took out about half of it and trying to get this small enough, and we'll figure that out next time.
Right. So this is the 7 churches of Revelation, and you, it seems to me, have a tour coming up in October, revolving around this very thing.
Yeah, of course, I like all the lands of the Bible. I mean, I have a listing. I say Israel's first, Turkey second, Greece is third. Egypt is certainly fourth, maybe that along with Jordan, and last of all, Italy. I mean, they're in orders
Mm-hmm.
in my thinking, and I've gone to all these places many times, some far more than others. I've done about 40-something trips since 1996 to Israel, and then about 20 or so or more to Turkey. I like Turkey because Turkey becomes very important to us after we read the first 2 or 3 chapters of the book of Acts, because you move into the northern areas over through what we call Asia Minor, and that's where modern Turkey is.
Mm.
So there's so much of what the apostles did and the church growth in understanding what's going on inside ancient Asia Minor and modern day Turkey.
Mm.
You have, for example, John and Peter and Mark and, of course, Timothy and Paul, and you could go through a list of individuals whose names you know. Matter of fact, they not too long ago even found the burial site of the Apostle Philip, not the evangelist, but the Apostle Philip and his daughter were martyred at this place called Hierapolis. And that's before Christianity obviously gained a foothold there. But all these things are important for us to understand.
Yep.
All right. So where do we go here? There we go. So text of Revelation 1:1 to 3:22.
Yeah. It's going to be a little different tonight since I had to get rid of several of those things, but I'll try to make up for it. Let me say something first that I had in some of my slides to lead up to this. What we have is here, I say, it's the John to the 7 churches. Now, there are more sites in Turkey in which Christians built, their churches, and there are finds archaeologically relating to, for example, in Aphrodisias, I found the name Theophilus. Sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found also, found another place where I found on the theater stones the writing about the place of the Jews and the God-fearers. Those like Cornelius. So these were kinds of things that were common. There's more that I can talk about there, but I'm just saying it's more than the 7 churches are important. That's why I also want to go to Patmos. There's a reason why. That's where John was, and he wrote the Revelation there. And you have Miletus, which is where Paul called the elders from Ephesians from Ephesus to come down to Miletus, and that's where they found a lot of different artifacts and so forth. And Hierapolis, I mentioned before, but Hierapolis is a great, great site. It's right across the Lycus Valley from the city of Laodicea. And there's things we'll talk about. All these sites have great interest for people who are interested in finding out what the Bible is talking about. One important thing I found at Laodicea, for example, and I was there in 1996 or 7 when I got out of a van with the pastor friend and his wife and me doing a trip by ourselves. And I asked the guide, where's Laodicea? And he said, right out there. And I said, where? He said, it's over there. I said, I don't see it anywhere. and what he was talking about, this is what they viewed as a site of Laodicea. Nobody had uncovered it. And so I went over there and I saw something. I said, that looks just like the way Greeks would build a theater. So I went over there and started kicking around and uncovering grass, and I found stone.
Oh.
And I thought, this is a theater. And I know the difference between the way the Romans built it and the Greeks built it. And you could look across the whole Lycus Valley from there. And then I went into the place, and everything was just a few stones here and there. And I came across something that was fascinating. You want to know what it is?
Oh, what is it?
It was fascinating because here on a stone that nobody paid any attention to, they had never done any archaeology really here to speak of. And I saw what was called the sign of the Jewish church. Because it had on top a menorah engraved. Underneath it was a Star of David engraved. And under it was a large fish engraved. And they all fit together in the signal to know this is relating to Jewish believers or Gentiles also who worked with them in their synagogue. And I think it was a fascinating thing. It was only in time that people came in and started building and excavating that over just, maybe 20 years ago. And we now have some wonderful things to look at.
Nice.
Okay, now do we want to go back to the scripture or go to your map?
Go to my what?
Map. You have a large map here.
Oh, I do.
with a big circle around Patmos.
Let me go down to where I see my map. Is that the one with the big circle with the red?
There you go.
There it is.
That's it. And you can show these things to me, and it helps me. Because I had to remove about half of my slides just to get on site. Now, let me explain why I did the round circle of Patmos, because it's sort of pivotal for our discussions of the 7 churches, because that's where John was in fact exiled by the emperor. And so I wanted people to be sure they could see where it is in reference to the land. Now, if you look at that map, what you'll see is that you have Miletus there, Perini, and you have another place called Kusadasi, which is a modern name in Turkey. That's for the place that we call Ephesus. But there's a little distinction between the archaeological site and where people live. They live in Kusadasi.
Oh.
So, Perini, I never really take people much to because it's a big, long climb up. And most people don't deal with it there, and they don't take the bus up there. So I've been up there a few times, and I didn't find it that amazing. So Miletus, though, is a great place I mentioned. That's where they had I saw this, I took pictures of it, and I said, I can't believe this is here. The place of the Jews and the God-fears right there together in Greek, scribed on the stone. It was like reserved seating. And then you have theater around, and then I found other things there too. But I'll say some other things about Miletus in a little bit. If you will look then at the next one up, you have Ephesus. Now, Ephesus is the beginning of the 7 churches as far as the order in which John lists them. And you find it goes up from Ephesus, it goes on up north, and the Pergamum drops over to Thyatira, if you can see it at the top there, and go back down to a place called Sardis and Philadelphia, and basically then to Laodicea at the bottom. Can you see how that all comes around? That was John sent this letter around to the churches, and it was a circular kind of, I don't know how, they didn't have postmen like we have today. You had to have a messenger to do it for you. But some of these are very exciting. Philadelphia, which is a great church. They have many good things said about them,
Mm-hmm.
yet virtually there's nothing there. And the same thing that you encounter with Thyatira. There's nothing much there. And I used to sort of skip them, but more and more people say, no, I want to say I went to all 7 places. And I said, fine, go. But Smyrna is a place I've spent a lot of time because I got to know the archaeologist there, Professor Aroy. And we went down underneath the city to the tunnel areas where they have like an underground. I mean, it was not like dirt, but it was sort of underneath the regular city, and we worked on some Greek transcriptions together, and that was fun. So,
So
Smyrna's a great place.
this kind of helps you get a better view then of the churches he was writing to. I mean, they weren't close, but they were closer than you might have expected. They were basically, are they a few hundred miles from Patmos there?
Yeah, it's not too far. Well, Patmos, first you have to get on land. That takes about 2 hours on a boat that they have to take you back and forth. But
Wow.
And I love Patmos, by the way. I could go over there and spend a summer. It's gorgeous. But nonetheless, Patmos is part of the Aegean Sea. Remember this? It varies between what the number is according to what you call an island. But there's at least 2,000, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 islands that are Greek in the Aegean Sea area. It's a beautiful blue area, and I had a picture of it. I think you'll be able to see it here in a little while if I didn't take it out. but what you have here is Smyrna is a place that a man by the name of Polycarp was put to death on a stake. Remember that?
Yep.
And that's from Polycarp, a disciple of John. And so that's in Smyrna. It's called Izmir today by the Turks.
Okay.
Which is right underneath. But they have some fascinating things they have found at Smyrna. Pergamum has some fascinating areas too, and I don't know how quickly to move through these because I do want to talk about the 7 churches as part of what I want to do. I thought as we do this series, we can do the 7 churches, not in all one night. I'm just giving a basic introduction right now. And then when we do it again, we can obviously always take in Greece. We can take in Philip. You can take in Macedonia, go to Israel, Egypt, all these places. We'll look around. But right now, if you look at this, you notice how many cities there. But go up a little higher to the left, above Lesbos, which you know what that's talking about. Troas, and then Troy.
Troy, yeah.
So one thing I'm doing on this tour, if anybody wants to go on this tour, I have room for a few more people. So I'm happy to have you if you want to come on the tour because we make it exciting and I take the time to explain everything. By the way, I was asked by a tour agency in Greece. I'd done a 2-week tour in Turkey. Then this happened about 3 years ago. And I was asked by a tour agency, would you please take all of our tour guides who are they're going to be taking people to Turkey and explaining this, the sites. Would you take them and teach them?
There you go.
I had a busload of Greek tour guides that I taught all about all these areas in ancient Turkey. Most tour guides aren't that great personally, but we are going to actually drive down instead of fly this time. We're going to drive down by ancient Troy. If you looked at the top left there, you see Troas. You've seen that in the Bible. Right. And then Troy, the site of where you had the Greeks and the Trojan War, right?
Yep.
And then we're going to look at that. The walls are there. The city, there's a lot of things in the city and the theater and all these kind of things are in Troy. We're going to run by them on the way since we're close.
Nice. They have a replica of the horse still there, or no?
They have a replica of the horse. It's not the same one that was there originally.
Darn it!
But quite horsing around, James.
Oh, sorry about that.
But we'll talk about the Trojan. I enjoyed reading as a kid, even the Trojan War issue.
Trojan Wars, yeah.
And so that's another thing. But we'll be doing that, and then we'll be coming down back into Pergamum as one of the places we'll go. Pergamon's a fascinating city. I've got a little story here. I'm not going to be able to show people, I don't think, probably all that I want to about all these cities. I'm showing some things, I think. But if you go to Pergamum, it's it's a location that has very close to it something called the Asclepion. Can anybody think about Asclepius and Asclepion? What is that?
What is it called?
It's called Asclepion.
Asclepion.
Or there's a god of a sort called Asclepius.
Mm.
Well, this is where you
Asclepius.
have two snakes surrounding a little pole that doctors wear on their clothes.
What?
You know what I'm talking about? You've seen the
medical
medical thing, yeah.
medical symbol.
And
Yeah, he's the god of healers in Greek mythology.
Ah, there you go.
yeah, and Asclepius, if you go, for example, to Corinth, which is one of the tours of Greece and such, they have a place for people to bring body parts in, which they've actually made into clay items of all pieces of the body, and these were votive offerings to the god Asclepius.
Huh.
So they want him to heal them. And I won't go into all that. Let's talk about it. But
Interesting, though.
things to whet your appetite.
Yeah,
And so that's one thing they have at Pergamum, but they have something else very important because John mentions, he says, you are where the seat of Satan is.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you think, what is that referring to? Well, let me tell you. There is a place where you have a grove with trees now.
Mhm.
But once upon a time, there was a gigantic altar there. We're talking about a fairly good-sized altar to the god Zeus.
Ooh.
He was the primary deity.
Mhm.
And when John talks about the seat of Satan, it's probably talking about the altar of Zeus,
Mhm.
king of the pagan deities.
Right.
And so that's maybe, but what happened is a guy from Germany came down and got to know one of the people that were motifs or whatever they were in those days of controlling different parts of the countries who were Muslim, and they made friends and they did business deals. And he said, "Would you mind if I took back just a few souvenirs
Just a few.
from where I've been working?" And the guy said, "No problem at all." And so he dismantled the altar of Zeus and took it back to Berlin. Now they have the Pergamum Museum in Berlin, along with the Altus.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Jeez.
I've been to all three of those, and I actually got a piece of. I have a nice camera, but I thought that the distance between you standing and where the altar is very, very narrow. Very narrow. You can't get hardly the altar in your camera because it's wide, but you can't get depth. So actually, I bought a really nice lens just to take that one picture, and I got it. And so, but that's in Berlin. That happened. So moving along here a little bit more, these are things I'm just giving just the tidbits of things. Bergamon's a great place. You have the most probably the sharpest angle of a theater that I've ever seen in the ancient world.
Wow.
It's really big, and it looks over at the Asclepion across the way. But they did performances there, and if you were to fall, if you tripped,
you get down real quick.
you can roll a long way. So that's. But I've never seen such a theater such as that.
Wow.
But then you move into Thyatira, and Thyatira was I didn't tell you something about Smyrna I need to go back to. I'll go back to it. But in Thyatira, there's hardly anything there, but it was actually had good recommendations also in the book of Revelation. So it seems the two that were never developed much were the ones that were the better people. I want to go back to Smyrna. I almost mentioned to you. Have you ever heard of the number 666?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody familiar with that?
The devil.
That's in the book of Revelation. It's a sign of the
Antichrist.
The
of
Antichrist.
the beast. Yeah, the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And so you think, what is that about? Well, they have found in the under area where you go in Smyrna several things that are interesting. One is that you say you have a reading, and they do it like that. It would have been in Greek, but it says in Greek, "I love the girl who is 321," or "I love 667," or whatever you want to say. They use numbers as codes for people without giving their names.
Right.
They were practicing that at Smyrna. They also have inscriptions on the undersides, also columns, telling Christians by codes how to find a Christian congregation to connect to. And so Smyrna is a very interesting place. Listen to where Polycarp was. Okay, moving back up. I'm hitting the high points, and then we're going to go look at some stuff.
Moving on, Mr. Vino.
What?
I'm sorry, what?
Moving on to the next area.
I'm just turkeying around the 7 churches, and then
He's turkeying around.
And I'm taking you around this Asia Minor, as it was also
right.
I'm taking you around this science of Turkey, and sort of general, just giving you some tidbits, and then I want to go back and focus on each of the church centers themselves, because there's far more than what I'm saying. Now, as you move on down, you notice you've done Pergamum. I mentioned something about it. They actually had a big temple there that used to exist. It's not much anymore, but to the emperor, which is not uncommon, because emperors, remember, were viewed as gods also, right?
Right.
Okay. At least they thought they were. So when you move on down to Sardis, you move to a fascinating place. And you wouldn't know this if you hadn't done a little study in this area, probably. But the area in which you have the temple to the god is some ways from the place we go to first. The first place you go to has these brown stone things, and you notice that they have places where they had people buying and selling things, sort of like you have it in Jerusalem. If you go to the Western Wall and go to the southern portion of the Western Wall, they still have little areas that people have their businesses in.
Little shops, yeah.
And you've been to places that have bazaars, right? Where they have all these things. You try to fight your way through the crowds, and everybody's selling things. They used to do that in the days of Jesus too, and they also did it in Sardis. You can see right next to this building that I'm going to talk about, right there is places where people bought and sold. Now you go around the corner and go into the place, and you think, what is this? It's fascinating to me, and this is sort of intimated in the New Testament. But the Jews were put into a diaspora. They keep getting kicked out of their land. And you got all these idiots today that are saying, the Jews are trying to push these Palestinians out of their homeland. And I'm saying, baloney. That's the technical term.
Right.
Because the area of Gaza was actually inhabited by Greeks, not Arabs. The Arabs were never there until the 7th century after Christ. In the days of the Jews and what you called Philistia was the location of the Philistines, which later was put into Latin as Palestinians, and Palestine. And a lot of the people that are arguing this stuff don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Right.
But the fact is that the Jews were knocked out of the land by so many different kinds of people over the centuries. And they were scattered in places into Asia Minor. So Paul encountered Jews in Asia Minor, even as he did in the area of Thessaloniki and places like that, Berea. They were scattered all over the world. And so when you see things here in Asia Minor that have things about Jews, you realize that they were still a major force in these lands because they were scattered in groups and they would hold you together. So Paul ran into both. Well, anyway, at Sardis, when you go in, you look and you say, what is this building? And if you pay attention, you realize you're walking in a synagogue,
Oh.
a fairly good-sized synagogue.
Hmm.
But then you look around, and you say, man, okay, I can turn around and I can see the place they had the scrolls that were read, like when Jesus took the scroll, at Nazareth. But you look and say, this doesn't just look just like a synagogue, because you have a structure at the very end of it that looks more like a Greek Orthodox church setting.
Right.
Okay? And then you see animals in the church.
What?
And would that have been in a Jewish synagogue where you have stone objects of animals? That was always forbidden, because the whole concept of don't create an image.
Right.
They also didn't do that with animals either. And so you have that in there. There's a lot of things that demonstrates that it was a synagogue at one time, but over a period of time became also used by others, probably Christians later. And then to the right, if you were there, you would see a gigantic building, and you know something about Greeks. They love their saunas. They have pools to wade in all the time.
Pools and pools.
Every city you go to, there's a pool. So anyway, that's sort of what you see in Sardis. There are other things, the temples and so forth. Philadelphia, from which we get, I guess, at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, right? Would be there. Not much is happening in Philadelphia to look at. Now, when you get to Hierapolis, what you have at that side, and we're going to be looking at pictures and talking about a lot of things there that I'm not talking about now. And that is Hierapolis. Can anybody tell me who has enough Greek to tell me what Hierapolis means?
Is that named after Hera?
No.
Sounds like it.
It's not Hera, the goddess. It has nothing with the goddess.
Is it named after the sun god Helios?
No, you're still trying to get it after a god.
In Greek, it means temple city.
Okay, you're getting closer. The word polis means what?
City.
City. Hera here is a word for holy. It was viewed as a holy city. And so what you find here on Hierapolis, it looks like a snow-capped mountain. Except these are beautiful, wonderful, warm, and inviting springs that come up from the earth and flow down the mountain, and the salt deposit makes it look just like it were a big snow-capped mountain. But if you always bring it, you always want to bring a suit that you get into it, because it is like being in a jacuzzi. It's really very nice. But you have the biggest graveyard I've ever seen in my life.
What?
Can you guess why it might be that way?
The biggest graveyard, you said?
Gigantic graveyard.
Probably because they toasted to death. I don't know.
Martyrs?
I'm really getting some intelligent remarks tonight.
Sorry about that.
Are we grading any of this?
Probably not. Don't do it.
Well, think about it. Think about it.
Who wouldn't want to be buried in the holy city?
Exactly.
The holy city. Okay, and what else? Lots of people came to Hierapolis because they were older, and the waters were refreshing to their body and healing. So that's another feature. You had things, lots and lots and lots of people died there. But you're right, several of those different reasons.
Yeah.
Some of them just got their tax bills, and that was enough.
Yeah, definitely. Or their property taxes,
Oh, boy. Yes.
So it was a massive retirement home.
There, basically.
Well, tell me how I'm doing. I mean, you keep track of time on me. I can talk forever,
That's true.
I love archaeology. I have degrees in different things, and I love all the ones I've studied. And archaeology has been the most recent one that I did doctoral work in.
Cool.
And I find it fascinating. We will take some time, by the way, because I've done several digs at a place that's called Tal Hammam over in Jordan, and we'll probably spend some time looking at all that.
Ooh.
But not in this session right now. I'm going through 7 churches now. And I will go back and we'll take these in much more depth and show you more stuff and explain things. But since I don't have the good setup tonight like I had hoped I would have, and I really apologize, Ron, that Don, that we couldn't get this together, but
We're
we'll
we're
work it out.
doing we're doing just fine.
Well, okay,
Yep.
I have the gift of gabbing, so
And that's going well too. Yes.
that's why I became a preacher. I started preaching at 14. Can you imagine that?
What?
Pastoring at 18.
There you go.
Anyway, so Hierapolis, you can go across what is called the Lycus Valley, and you can see on the hill, you can see Hierapolis from Laodicea and vice versa across the Lycus Valley.
Okay.
And so you have some interesting concepts between these places that we're going to talk about later, about what you find in the Revelation of John that we find actually in Hierapolis and Colossae.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that interesting when we get there.
Yeah.
But you go to Laodicea, it is a church that had a few problems.
Yep.
Yeah.
To say the least.
But they were told that he wanted them to be either hot or cold, but not to be lukewarm. He says, if you do that, I'll spit you out of my mouth. And I'll talk more about another time why he says all that.
Can I guess that it has to do with Hierapolis and Colossae?
It has something to do with it.
Okay. And we're on the right path.
And so Laodicea is between the two sites. If you look there, Hierapolis at the top, the valley goes between, then you hit Laodicea, and then you have Colossae.
Right.
And so there's reasons for this. By the way, archaeology helps you to understand Scripture.
Yep.
At times. You read certain things and you get clues on what they knew by their living in that setting.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go back and study it, but they lived it.
Right.
These things were common to them to know. It was just you grew up with it. You knew how it worked, and so we're just learning it. Right. So, but you go to Hierapolis and you go to Laodicea. Laodicea has a lot of interesting stuff there, and since the days in which I first went there, when they had zero, and I kicked the stone to find a theater, they have really uncovered a good portion of Laodicea. Very nicely done. And I don't want to go into that yet. Let me go down to Colossae. I'm excited about Colossae right now. But I've been mentioning to people there that I knew for decades, because I started doing tours in 96. And let's see, I'm 43 now. So let's see.
Yeah, right.
So the fact is that I kept going year after year after year. All these years, I've been going to all these sites all over the Mediterranean area, and I thought, why don't they do something here? That they should. But they just started this year excavating Colossae.
What?
So it probably won't be that accessible unless you can get a special approval by the head of the archaeological dig. And I'm hoping it's my friend Ersoy, because we had a good time together. But by the way, I have a statement by him in my Visual Study Bible when you go into Smyrna. Some things it says. I got it all in Turkish, and I had it translated, and I now have it ready for the study Bible.
Cool.
Anyway, but Colossae is a great site. I wrote 4 articles. Now, I think Don, you mentioned, didn't you, about the fact of my brand new website. And if you go to hwhouse.com, there is a phenomenal, well done, expensive, fortunately I didn't have to pay for it, website now that has all sorts of stuff. Like I haven't put everything on it. I have so much more to get on there. I'm looking for everything under the sun of all these articles I've done. And they're in PDF somewhere and some disk. I'm running and trying to find them, and gradually it's filling up. But I have 4 articles on Colossae that I did in Bibliotheca Sacra. So you can go to that and read some stuff about Colossae if you like when we do the stuff in Colossae. And I also there, of course, I have the reference to the tour we're doing in October. I hope maybe a few of you want to go on the tour. I think Turkey is so interesting to go to. It's got so many things. Oh, there's my site came up. And I have I have another thing. I actually asked the president of the school I was teaching at in Oregon. I said, "Do you mind if I would bring my systematic theology courses?" And of course, there's classes on every one of the courses. 8 or 9, 10 classes, whatever it is. So that I have I have a whole systematic theology curriculum, not just a course. The whole curriculum there you can watch free of charge if you want. Get that kind of education, even if you haven't been to a seminary. And I have all sorts of other things put on there that I'm trying to make available for people to read, books and odds and end things. Lots of videos. I have, I guess, 8 or 10 or 12, someplace in there, lectures on archaeology if you want to go to. And so I'm trying to make it available so people can have a lot to use.
Yep.
Anyway, so we mentioned Colossae. I walked around the top of it in the past, and I could feel just the feel of it that I knew there was a wall there.
Oh,
And so they will be uncovering all that now.
wow.
Now, moving down after that to Aphrodisias. Aphrodisias is a very beautiful site, and they have some cool stuff there. That's where I was looking at this big column inside the museum, and also found it on another column outside the museum, where the name Theophilus was listed. And I thought, well, I don't think this is the Theophilus of Luke's gospel, but it tells me that name was a popular name.
Sure.
And so that would sort of give some credibility to Luke's reference there. And then I found also some other names that were interesting, including the reference I said, like it was at Miletus. I found one on the column in Aphrodisias that talked about God-fears. So that's a very popular term of Gentiles who were intrigued by the Jewish faith. And they actually adhered to the Jewish faith. They sort of got dissatisfied with the multiple deities. And by the way, that was occurring, if you don't know about this, in the 1st century AD and right before, the whole concept of the mythologies of Greece begin to come into disrepute. And that's why you have Philo and others in Alexandria, where they were beginning to have a neoclassical renaissance, but they begin to move to the fact not of believing in the deities, other than the fact that deities were telling stories and lessons, but they never existed. But the stories about them had meaning behind it. That's where you get all the whole concept of what we have encountered with people like Origen and others with their way of dealing with text.
Sure.
But Aphrodisias is a great place because I looked around. Every time I go someplace, I have tours, but I always release them to go look around where I can release myself to look around.
There you go.
And I was looking at a funeral situation with a man and a woman there, and I was reading this. I started reading Greek a little bit. And I thought, I've read that before. It's stated toward the beginning of Titus chapter 1 about women are to be lovers of their husbands and their children. It was apparently an adage that was spoken in the ancient Greek world. It was something common used.
Sure.
And Titus borrowed something that was probably common knowledge that the people would know about as he admonished them. So that's just one thing among many things that are there. Now, moving on up from that area
to the east side.
I'm going to Neapolis right now. That
Neapolis.
means, what does that mean, by the way?
That's an ice cream, isn't it?
3 flavors, I think.
I can see that we have a lot of just aching scholars that are.
We are on it.
The archaeologists are just flowing out of everywhere.
There you go. They are. New city. There he goes. Thank you, Doctor.
New city.
Okay. Smakalaka says this.
We're heading back then to the issue of where we started here.
Smakalaka says archaeology is important to understand the evolving of the past shaping our history today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Don't you think?
Yep.
I don't have to have archaeology to believe the Bible is the Word of God.
Right.
If that were a fact, we wouldn't have many Christians in history. This whole area is not that is not that new. I mean, that old. I mean, but the fact is, archaeology supports the scripture as being
Yes.
true. It's an additional support. It also informs us of information we might have gotten wrong
Right.
as we come across the actual documents and so forth. And the example I gave you a while ago about the Hittites, you go back and read the turn of the 20th century, back in the 1800s, and that area, that I guess would be the 19th and 20th centuries, that area, that a lot of people said that some people didn't exist here and there.
Right. Even
Right.
King David, I think, at one point.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, King David. A lot of people said David never existed, Abraham never existed, Moses never existed.
Right.
All these people they don't like never existed. But the point of it is, as you find archaeology, you find information that supports all of that.
Right.
You know what I've noticed about scholars who do these things? They never start and say, I want to apologize about that.
No. No, they don't.
They never admit their error. So archaeology, though, does support that. It has an apologetic value. There's no problem with that, but it can't be exclusive. And it also helps us to understand practices and tools. By the way, out of the Hittites came the treaty forms that were so important, found, for example, in Egypt. And we have all sorts of evidence from, and also the Ten Commandments and the Law of Moses follows a Hittite treaty form because it was used by almost everybody in the ancient world at that time. So archaeology is really a good tool for us to use to elucidate the Word of God and to hopefully cause a few people not to talk so much.
That's right.
So Smakalaka continues with another. He says, I think the reason we find so little about Jesus is because the government banned him, forbade anyone to mention his name because he was a threat. He was easier to forget than to remember. I don't know that he was forgotten. He is a powerful force all down through history since the first century.
There have been suppressions, but that's about it. But that's all. Nothing
Right.
to really
I would go suppression. Obviously, he's trying to be suppressed places today.
Sure, even now.
But Jesus was on people's lips from the time that he finally came on the scene and he died and rose from the dead. He's been on their people's lips ever since.
Right.
So you can't keep it down.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just did a brief overview. Now I don't know our time, and you're going to have to keep me in line.
Well, we are theoretically done with time. We can run a few minutes over, but not too much.
Well, let me just talk about next time a little bit, just to give you the taste.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we'll start off. I wanted people to read a little bit in the first portion of the Revelation. Just read the first 2 or 3 chapters. That'll be adequate. And then what we'll do is say a few things about that, but then we're going to go in and take these places I've hit the various pieces, and I want to show you artifacts and sites and information to elucidate this and make it more real for you. Hopefully between now and then, Don can help me to become more knowledgeable, because apparently I didn't get it right like I tried to do. So I'll take the blame for all of that. And so we will go to each one and show this to you, and then we'll go to other things. I want to take you around the Mediterranean world in time, if that's possible. So anything else?
Sounds good.
I don't think so. I think we're in good shape.
Okay.
I'm going to close that guy. Any questions, comments from anybody else?
Let's see. What was I going to say?
We have House Visual Study Bible, by the way. You might want to consider doing that. It's about $5 a month, I think.
Yeah, I say a hamburger a month is all you have to pay.
Hamburger.
McDonald's, cheap rate.
The McDonald's one. Okay.
And that looks like that.
Yes.
And there's it's a growing work. So
let me say something about that real quick, since you mentioned. This work came to me at Caesarea Philippi one day. It so strongly impressed me that I needed to do it. Now, I won't go into more than that, but I really knew the Lord wanted to tackle this. And I'd done a visual study. I'd done a study Bible with a Nelson study Bible and the commentary and things like that. But I began to think, I want to be able to help it so that people, when they read the Bible, can see with their eyes what the Bible's talking about, in addition to receiving information about all these things and the categories. I've tried to make this a thorough kind of work. And I had a person that works on study tools on the internet. He's done it for decades. He wrote me a letter and he said, I've checked the top 100 study tools on the internet, study Bibles and other things like that. He says, not a single one of the top 100 are anywhere even close to what you've done. Mm. And so I've tried to keep this very reasonable. It's getting better and better. It's a lot of work. I've been working on it for a long time, but we're making some tremendous progress now. I appreciate your prayers. It looks like we're just really going strong on it now. Mm. And we're going to have the New Testament complete very soon. Mm. Within a couple of months, it all should be finished. And then the Old Testament's being worked on pretty strongly. And that's going to come out. And I have 8 different foreign countries right now who are asking me if they can have it translated into their language.
Nice.
So we're beginning to make progress there. So your prayers are appreciated. And you can find more on the HW House. I can't even think what I am. HW House.
HVSB.app.
That's hvsb.app, but hwhouse.com has all this information.
Right.
Just that. Plus, now, I need 2 more people for the tour. If you want to go and experience Turkey with us, we have room for you and would love to have you come.
All right. So you have things like in here. We're looking at the book of Matthew. You have a little video link right here, and you can pop on that. And then
in archaeology, there's only 3 evidences for the existence of the king of Israel we call David. I have hundreds of videos, thousands of pictures.
Wow.
And I connect everything together.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
It's
okay,
really
so
I thank you for being here.
Yes.
So we'll do this next week again, 8:00 Central, and theoretically we'll have our act together. I had my act together. I just forgot where I put it.
Nah.
Adios, everybody, for the night.
It was over in that theater that Wayne dug up.